Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're going to come up with a cleaning solution, but not a cleaning solution that we're used to around here. So for some of y'all who have been around for the very beginning, right, since I kicked this channel off almost a year ago, kind of crazy enough, you might have noticed that in the recent months I have lost a little bit of weight. I think as of right now, I'm just shy of 40 pounds that I have lost since the middle of May. Now, I'm saying this because we're going to get to what we're going to actually build here, or what we're going to go through here, because I think it's imperative to kind of understand. And if you have struggled with your weight in the past, which I have, right, like working mom, super busy, always on the go, I mean, as much as I try to do things from scratch, sometimes we're just beat, right? And we have to pick up easy, and that's not necessarily what we want to do. This is why I really got into the prepping of the meals, if you will. So like if I want to just open something, heat it up, add my fresh noodles to it, at least I'm not eating out as much as I used to. And it's a mind shift and a change that you have to kind of get to on your own, and nobody's going to get you there by making you feel bad. You have to get there because you want it better for yourself. But me, I personally know I would always get to that 25 pounds, 26 pounds that I would lose, and I would feel really good about myself. And I'd be like, look at what I'm doing. This is great, you know. And then the cravings will kick in, right? And then it's like, I really want some ice cream, or it's just one night, you know, and people will tell you to give in to the cravings. And I'm a big advocate for, if you want a cookie, eat a cookie, but make sure you know where the cookie came from. But in the same instance, when you get to day 2 and you still want a cookie, well, your body's trying to tell you something. And so I actually went down this little rabbit hole of trying to figure out why I would always get to that 25, 26 pounds lost. And then I'd be like, hey, I want to eat everything in the house, and I would just start gorging, and then next thing you know, 5 pounds creeps on, 10 pounds creeps on, and no matter what I was doing exercise-wise or whatever, I would still gain weight, because I'm sorry, you cannot outwalk a bad diet, right? If you're eating 7,500 calories a day, you just can't outwalk that unless you're, you know, like a powerhouse bodybuilder, and well, we can clearly see I'm not that. So in my research, of course, I found out what is actually held in our fat cells, right? And so our fat cells actually hold a lot of toxins, heavy metals, all these types of things. And it's our body's way of pulling all this junk out of our system and storing it away. Now, we were never meant to be the level of obesity as some of us get sometimes. And so we end up storing way more than we probably should, because there's a lot of this junk in the sad American diet, right? And so what happens is people get onto these huge kicks, they lose a whole bunch of weight, and then a lot of people actually end up getting sick. And the problem is because we're not working on our filtration systems in our body while we're trying to also lose weight. You can lose as much weight as you want, and that's great and that's wonderful. But if you're not taking care of the systems in your body that process and get the junk out, it's only a matter of time before your body is screaming, danger, danger, and it wants to really start putting weight back on to actually absorb all these toxins and junks that you've released into your system. And if you have a terrible liver to begin with, right, which is usually your liver and your kidneys are what do the majority of this filtration in your body, if they're already overwhelmed and overworking because your diet is terrible and you haven't overhauled that yet, well, now you're just compounding it, and it gets sludgy and it doesn't know what to do. And now the signals are all going off in the body of what do we do? What do you do? Gain weight, gain weight, gain weight. We've got to like absorb these toxins back into our body. So then this led me to try to figure out, okay, do I really want to order this really expensive liver detox? And you literally can just Google, right, liver detox, and there's everything out there on the market, and some are very super expensive and some are not, some work, some don't. It's just a hodgepodge out there. So I want to tell you what has worked for me. Now, this is not something I do every day. Now, you probably could do it every day and you'll be just fine, but honestly, sometimes getting up and drinking this in the morning doesn't sound fun to me, but It's not that it tastes bad. It's just the monotony of things sometimes can get boring. So we have to remind ourselves that we're doing this for our health. Usually I do it for about a 2-week run, and then I pull back for a couple days and see how my body is responding. If the cravings are kicking back in, if I'm just kind of going off the rails and I want cookies and whatever, if I feel sluggish, I actually find when I do this detox, I actually have a higher energy level. This detox actually is really good for getting rid of like the baking soda in it is really good for getting rid of like the lactic acid in your muscles and stuff, which actually make you more weary. So if you're working out more, you'll actually won't fatigue as fast. Lemon, of course, is really good for cell reconstruction. Vitamin C is really good for your body. Lemon itself just has so many cellular components to it. We really should try to get more lemon in our diet, but make sure it's organic. Of course, I have to buy mine from the store because the Ozarks are not really known for their lemon trees. And then, of course, you're going to want like a really good apple cider vinegar. And we all know apple cider vinegar within itself is a really good tool for weight loss in general. These two paired together are really good for heartburn. So there's a lot of benefits that I get from this. But like literally, it's funny because last week, and this is just me being real because like I want to show you guys what I'm doing and what works for me. And as in all things, right, we just want to make sure that we check to make sure that any of these ingredients are not going to harm any of the medications we're taking, or, you know, if we're already maybe on kidney dialysis, we probably don't want to be, you know, ruffling the feathers and doing things. So please do your own research of how this would interact with your own body and what you need. I'm just telling you what has worked for me. But to give you a case in point, right, to be raw and put it out there. So last week I had kind of plateaued a little bit, but then I noticed that not only had I plateaued, I really had started to gain like a pound here, 3 pounds there, 2 pounds back, a pound up. And so I could tell like it was bloating, it was water, it was like all this type of stuff in my body. And of course I made homemade chocolate ice cream and I wanted some and I was craving it. And I'm like, wait a minute, red flag, right? So we're already stepping past. I did it a couple months ago when I hit the 25-pound loss. Well, now, of course, we're up to close to 40 pounds lost. And my body, again, is like, hold on, wait a minute. We're hitting another milestone here. So we need to kind of look at what's going on. So last Monday, so today is September 1st. So last Monday, I started this detox. And what you're going to do is you're just going to take 10 ounces of water. You want to make sure this is not chlorinated water. So if you have well water, it's fine. Filtered water is fine. I use distilled water a lot of the times because I always have a ton of distilled water on hand making soap. And then you're going to use baking soda. So we got 10 ounces of water, a half a teaspoon of baking soda, and I'll put the full instructions below. We're going to use 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. Of course, if you make your own, that's best, but make sure you're using an organic source with the mother. And then we're going to do a half of a squeezed lemon in there too. Now you can run it through and catch the seeds on the way, but most of the time the seeds float at the top for me. Now I'm not going to make this up and drink it today because I've actually already had my dose because I usually take it about 5:30 in the morning. And so taking it that early, nobody wants to see that version of me. So with that being said, I started this last Monday, right? And at the point, right, I had already started to kind of tick back up a little bit. So I was already getting the warning signs that something was going on, right? Like I was getting sludgy and things weren't filtering. And so I started this and here we are a week later and I'm already down 7 pounds. Now, I'm not delusional. So like, oh, I lost 7 pounds of fat. I probably did lose some fat with my exercising and the things that I was doing. But I know that my cravings have stopped. I'm not sitting around having the munchies at night. My ice cream is currently sitting marked safe in the freezer because I'm not going after it. So you can actually listen to your body, right? And know, okay, things are going great. And I'm probably going to continue this on through the weekend and do a full 2 weeks on this and then come off over the weekend, like right before the next Monday and kind of gauge and see where I'm going. From the research I've done, you can actually do this for a long period of time. Most of the hesitation is around the baking soda. And you will see, You will see all of these people recommend like Arm & Hammer. Do not take Arm & Hammer. Find you a nice, organic, decent, reputable company to get your baking soda from, and you shouldn't have any issues. But as in all things, just check and make sure it works. You can remove the baking soda if you're uncomfortable about the baking soda, and you will still get benefits from just the water, the lemon, and the apple cider vinegar. So let's get to the most important part. How does it taste? To me, it tastes like a bubbly, flat lemonade with no sugar. I mean, if I'm going to be real with you. Now, I don't mind the taste of vinegar because, well, I'm from North Carolina, so we pretty much dredge everything in vinegar there. But in the essence, like I take this, like I said, usually at 5:30 in the morning, because you're going to want to take it on an empty stomach or before your largest meal of the day. So those are your two options. Now, I'm OMAD. I usually only eat one meal a day anyway. It just works better in my life with what I have going on to just stop and cook once a day. And usually right now it's like a salad or a sandwich, something pretty light, pretty easy. I do make sure that I'm getting enough calories because, again, when you're OMAD, you don't want to be eating 400 calories a day because that's not healthy. We do have to make sure we're not starving ourselves in this process, because our desire is to be healthy, right? And my healthy might be one weight and your healthy might be another weight. But in the same aspect, we want to make sure that we're sludging all of these toxins out of our body. And of course, making sure that you're pairing also when your salads, right, and putting sprouts in there will actually help clear out toxins. Like all of these things that you can do. So you build your entire regimen to make sure that you're taking care of your body. Most people don't actually know too, from a detox perspective, if you lift up your underarm and your underarm doesn't cave in at all, like you should have a sort of curve in your underarm. If it's flat or poking out, you probably need a lymphatic drainage, which is a totally different type of setup. I usually use pokeweed under, my arms a couple times a week. But again, you have to do what's best for you. There are a lot of good tinctures and stuff out there that are really good for this stuff. But we always set up on these journeys to get healthier and get better. And we measure our success by what the scale says and by how our clothes are fitting. But honestly, at the end of the day, if we're not taking care of what we are on the inside, then it's all a naught, right? Like we've wasted all of this time. We could drop weight really, really fast. We could get super, super muscular. And we've got all these toxins and all these heavy metals floating around in our body. And then as soon as we slip up one day, it's a heck of a lot easier to gain weight than it is to lose weight. So you have to be diligent in understanding your body and understanding how it works and understanding that, I'm not 22 anymore, right? Like you see all these like fun influencers that are, 22 and 25 and they're out there and like, yeah, just eat a sprig of broccoli and drink water. Okay, cool. When I was 25, I could lose weight without thinking about it, right? I am no longer 25. I am 45. So my body, I really have to think about losing weight now. And it's not that I can't lose weight. It's the fact that I have to understand that I can't live off Cheetos and Coca-Cola and walk 7 minutes and lose weight. I actually have to put an investment in my health and understand that what I put into my body affects my metabolism. It affects what my fat body, what my body wants to store in the fat cells. And I also have to understand that when I go through the weight loss process, that I also have to make sure that I'm cleaning all this stuff out of my system. So like I said, I'm just showing you what works for me. So I guess in essence, it's homestead related, tincture related, salve related, kind of going with the channel. But it's also like think about in cleaning, like starting on the inside first, right? The outside of us can look as healthy as possible, but if the inside of us is dying and not doing what it's supposed to be doing, then it's only a matter of time before the exterior catches up with the interior. So these are just my 2 cents. If anybody else has any good detoxes or things that they use for home remedies that you'd like to share with everybody, I think this would be a good place to kind of drop them below, little tips and tricks that you use. As always, I am not a holder of the knowledge, so I will put the full recipe below and some of the links that I used in my research. If I can go back in and find some of those, I'll put some of those so you can kind of dig into them too. But as in all things, make sure you research that none of this stuff is going to impact any medications or anything that you're currently going through before you started. And if a tablespoon is too much for the vinegar, then you can always back it down and work it up. You can always adjust it until your body gets used to it. You can actually work yourself all the way up to 2 tablespoons if you want to of apple cider vinegar, but that might be a bit much for some. But this is very basic. I have found it really helps me trying through those transitory periods where the cravings kind of kick in, and I just need something to kind of help me get to the other side. So like I said, just my 2 cents today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you try it and you see results, please come back and let me know. Give feedback. It's really appreciated. Again, my body is different than your body, so it might not work as well for you. But again, the benefits that you get from these, even if you don't see a weight loss, because it might not necessarily reflect on the scale, you can feel it in your energy level. I get a buildup of lactic acid behind my pinky toe sometimes. That is actually reduced when I'm on this detox. So you might see other benefits. So just kind of listen to your body and see where you're at and go from there. So I appreciate you guys stopping by. I appreciate you watching, and I hope to see you next time.